Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Hamdan lillah, Hamdan lillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wa la ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, Wallahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Al-Hikmat TV. My name is Naima Ghanny and I will be your host for this edition of Who's Who in America and the Community. This segment brings to you committed individuals who have dedicated their lives to serving Allah. These individuals come from a wide cross-section of the community, from the local, national, and international levels. We hope that they will serve as an inspiration and a motivation for you to get involved in your community. Today in the studio with me is our very special guest, Qari Shamikh Sahadat, who currently resides in Georgia. He is the operation manager of Wholesale Gallery, and he's visiting us here in South Florida. Welcome to the program, Qari Shamikh.
Thank you very much, Sister Naima.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now tell me, I noticed when I introduced you, your title says Qari Shamikh. What inspired you to become a Qari?
Well, first of all, I should say, Alhamdulillah, all praises and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And, what inspired me to become a Qari actually is, from the get-go, actually, I was always intrigued with Islam and many different aspects of Islam. Growing up in Guyana, I went to madrasas as a youth. Coming to the U.S., I really didn't went to any madrasa coming to the U.S. for the first few years, and then, with the encouragements of families and friends, I started going to madrasas. And as I got more into the Islamic studies and into the Quran, that's when I came across a lot of Qurras that recited the Quran. And, I started practicing it. And, it was like, once you start practicing, it just came as a natural.
You just hooked on it.
Exactly. Yeah. I kind of hooked on it. And alhamdulillah, through the encouragement of my parents and my peers and colleagues, Ma Shafat, encouraging me, I went on to start to learn more about how to better myself in the tajweed rules and recitation of the Holy Quran.
MashaAllah. I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to hear you recite, and you have a beautiful voice, MashaAllah. At what age did you actually become a Qari?
I couldn't remember the exact age, but I believe I was about 17 or 18.
Young.
Yeah, I was very young. I started Darul Ulum. Actually, I started going there when I was about 15. I was like one of the eldest students that used to go there, because most of the time you would find younger students that people would send their kids, and I was like one of the eldest, that was going there. So I was very young starting off there, and then by the time I learned the Quran and stuff by the time I was 16, 17, that's when I got more into the tajweed rules with Ma Shafat's friend Qari Abdul Jalil, actually, who resides in England. He runs a school in England and he runs a school in India. He also certified people in becoming Qurras and Hafiz, of the Holy Quran. So he is the one who actually certified me when he was here.
So you started off this mission right here in South Florida, in Darul Ulum.
Yes,
correct?
I started in Darul Ulum actually.
You started in Darul Ulum.
Yes.
I think it's the second story that we've had on this program, where we had another Qari, and he, alhamdulillah, started off at Darul Ulum. So you're the second one on our show who claimed the same thing, that you started off your mission at Darul Ulum Institute. So mashallah.
Yes, I did start it off at Darul Ulum, and I'm very happy that I started off there as a base.
That's great. And I noticed that you're living currently in Georgia. Is that one of the reasons why you've never been able to break free of South Florida, because you're back here visiting us again?
Yes.
Of this connection that you have, where you started off?
Yes. My heart is always in South Florida, because everybody that knew me, I grew up with around the community. My heart is always connected on here.
This is like home. It's like coming back home.
This is home.
Not Guyana.
Not Guyana
Okay.
home. But this is home, and I feel very happy when I come here, visiting friends and peers and relatives, and and to do work in the Al-Hikmat team as well. Just to be part of it, it feels good.
That's good. I'm sure they're very fortunate to have you. What advice would you give to young people who are interested in becoming a Qari?
One advice I would like to give them is, give yourself a chance with Islam. Give yourself a chance in learning something about your deen, because that what sparked me the most basically was I wanted to learn more. I just had something inside of me that, you know, let me just go and see. You know, let me go to the madrasa. Let me see what I can learn. You know, and give yourself that chance. Give yourself the opportunity to do it. Because in the long run, it will not only benefit you in an Islamic situation, but the things I've learned in studying Islam actually helped me a lot in life-related situations. So give yourself a chance. Go out there, enroll yourself into an Islamic school. Learn. If it is 2 hours a day, learn about your deen, but learn about it in a very good environment. Learn, put your mind to it when you're doing it as well. Just don't go because your parents tell you to go. Do it because your heart asks you to do it.
That's interesting. And I know a lot of our youths, yes, they can read the Arabic, they can read the Quran, but the recitation is what seems to be the problem for them. Yes, they can read, but to recite it in that melodious voice seems to be a problem for some of our young people. How can they overcome that hurdle?
Practice.
Practice
makes perfect. You see, I was never the type that had knew tajweed before. I was never the recitation person that could recite the whole the Holy Quran like the Hufaz, you know, and like the Qurras. I was never that type of person, but I started practice. And I would practice. And one thing my teachers have always told me was practice. Qari Jalil, he drilled it in my head to practice. The more you practice is the more better you're going to get at it. Yes, you might not sing the way how you want to sing now, but think about it in the long run. Because once you practice it, inshallah, by the permission of Allah, it will get better. You know, but it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of practice.
And I think that advice would, you know, fall into anything that we want to do. Practice, as the famous saying goes,
Yes.
Practice makes perfect. So
Yes.
practice sort of bring that perfection that we're looking for, even if it's in reciting Quran or anything that has to do with our daily activities. So that's some good advice for our young people out there. So I hope that they are listening. And at that point, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
Welcome to Toyota of Hollywood. No matter what your new car needs are, it's our goal to make every step of your ownership experience as easy as possible. Let our professional trained sales staff help you find the right car at the right price. Discover an easy ownership experience at Toyota of Hollywood today. We're conveniently located at 1841 North 60th Avenue in Hollywood, Florida.
Would you like to have your events broadcasted live? Contact Al-Hikmat Productions, a full-service video production for Islamic functions, weddings, seminars, etc. For more details, contact Al-Hikmat office 1-800-804-0267. That's 1-800-804-0267. Eat healthy, eat halal at Ashraf's Halal Meat Center for all your East and West Indian grocery for genuine halal USDA meat. Stop in or call in your orders at 305-654-0195. That's 305-654-0195.
Are you tired of calling cards? Are you fed up of those long PIN numbers? Then use Sensible, international direct calling for cents only. For more details, contact the Al-Hikmat office at 954-986-0158. That's 954-986-0158.
Estinate Caribbean Market, East and West Indian grocery for all your halal meats, fish, and vegetables. Call to place your order at 954-961-6160. That's 954-961-6160.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. If you're now joining us, my guest today in the studio is Qari Shamikh Sahadat, who's visiting us from Georgia. Qari Shamikh, we talked about why you became a Qari and the interest that motivated you. Now tell us a little bit about your Islamic work. How involved are you and what activities are you currently involved in?
Okay.
I'm sure there might be a long list.
There is a long list. Definitely. Well, basically, this all started back when I first started Darul Ulum as well. You know, my work, my Islamic work in the Islamic community. You know, as I was studying Islam in the Darul Ulum, you know, one thing is I also went to public school while doing my Islamic studies. So again,
so you were a full-time student.
I was
in
a full-time
Islamic
student
school as well as in public school.
Yes,
correct?
I was a full-time student in the public school. I was going to high school before I came straight to Guyana into high school here. So 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, I did all my studies while studying my Islam together as well. And while I was in high school, I took a communication class actually that we used to do a lot of printing. And of course, you know, I saw Maulana Shafi'at's business card. He had, at that time, he had a flip business card. So I looked at it, I tell him, you know, these are some of the stuff that I do printing. So that kind of interested me because he was in the same line. And that's how come me and him, we kind of built that relationship from there. And I did some work for him. I actually printed his business card. I did business cards, I did, you know, pads, notepads. I did a few other things.
So all this was while you were in high school?
Yeah,
you
this was,
these things while you were in high school.
So that's where my services start with Islamic work. And then as I finished off high school, you know, I even printed t-shirts, you know, part of my projects in school. We had projects that we had to do for this class. And what I used to do for the projects, I used to do the Islamic work for my projects. You see, so like t-shirts, we used to do screen printing for t-shirts. And I actually had a t-shirt that I printed Darul Uloom Institute on it as well.
So Islamized your whole
project. I Islamized my whole project,
yeah.
you know. So that's where it all began. And then going more into the community, as I was learning and excelling in Islamic education, you know, then Maulana Shafi'at and the few teachers that I had then, they kind of saw the potential. And alhamdulillah, they have put me to that position now, you know. I remember when I first start leading Salah, because I was in regular school, I used to actually lead Asr Salah first. The silent Salah, they used to put me to lead. You know, and then from there, and these are all while I was still doing my Islamic studies. From there, then they excelled me. After they saw how perfect my tajweed was in recitation of the Holy Quran, then they moved me on to leading Maghrib Salah. And
so you graduated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a gradual stage, and then that's how come I started getting more into the Islamic line. But at the same time, while doing in that, I built a very, very close relationship with Sheikh Shafi'at. I built a very close relationship. We built a relationship like a father and son relationship. And a lot of time, people saw him and people think that I'm his son and he's my father. And we would actually tell people, yes. Because you see, in Islam, students and teachers should have that relationship.
So he took you under his wing to say.
I took, exactly. You know, he took me under his wings and he started training me from there. And while doing all these things, I started going out with him in the Islamic work. I started to go to lectures. And then eventually when people saw that I was doing recitation, when he used to go, I used to go. He used to put me to do the recitation. So with that, you know, and then after that, then he starts going to interfaith conferences. And he would invite me to come there. So I started getting myself involved into all of these community work. You know, I was very well, you know, well going around Maulana Shafi'at, and with the things I've learned from him, I've gotten myself into involved in a lot of interfaith work, a lot of dialogue work. Work with young students from different faith and different ethnicities. You know, so all of that, you know, while I was doing my studies in Islam, you see, a lot of time people could have done a lot of book studies. And people done a lot of book studies without understanding the common sense of Islam. So what I did at the same time, I did my book studies, but yet I went out in the fields and practicing. Because you see, examples is what you need.
So you created a balance.
Exactly.
And sort of the theory and the practice and knowledge going together hand in hand.
Going together hand in hand. Not just only book.
And that's good advice for our young people. And even,
Yes.
you know, people who are interested out there in doing Islamic work, they need to have both together, you know, the theory and the practice. You just can't just talk about it without actually doing it.
Yes. And I'll tell you one thing, it is not an easy task though when you're young and trying to do a lot of Islamic work and going to school at the same time. You have distraction as a youth. And that is why today I could relate back with so many youth in that's going through a lot of situations now with peer pressure and with, you know, handling, you know, a lot of them having boyfriend, girlfriends issues, relationship issues, you know, and they want to know if this is Islamic and that is Islamic. You know, balancing all this, it does take a lot of effort. But you see, when I was studying, I understand that these obstacles will be in the way.
So have you tried talking to our youth, you know, maybe on that level, on their level actually, of how they can overcome some of these things in terms of peer pressure, dating, marriage, Have you been able to relate to our youth in the community in that light?
Yes, I have been able to relate, and in fact, that goes back to a lot of the work I'm doing now, presently, because I do counsel a lot of youth in Atlanta. I do talk. I have a few people who, like young youth who have problems, because I did a lot of lectures in Atlanta to youth groups. And a lot of the question that pops up with these boyfriend and girlfriend issues and stuff like that.
That seems to be a common thing right now in our society, especially the way things are in our community.
Exactly. But you see, that goes back that if we have the basis of our Islamic studies, we would understand what is right and what is wrong, what is permissible and what is not. You know, we would understand how to handle people, how to handle women around us and stuff like that. You know, so I mean, again, it goes back with your Islamic background that you have and how you study this deen.
So what else are you involved in Atlanta? You mentioned that you're talking to the youth groups in Atlanta.
Yes.
What other activities and programs are you currently involved in Atlanta? Because I know you did a lot of work right here in South Florida.
Yes, I did teaching in South Florida. I did Al-Hikmat work. In fact, the magazine that Al-Hikmat does, actually, I was one of the original person who had did the whole setup for that Al-Hikmat magazine. Well, Mohamed had did it before, and we used to, you know, then we graduated to other programs and stuff, so I'd helped.
And we're still growing and
graduating. And we're
still
I could see that now, you know. But I have helped out in a lot of the Islamic work there and in a lot of teaching as well in Darul Ulum before I moved. In fact, before we had moved as well, both myself and my wife, actually, we used to run the Sunday madrasa that they have now.
At Darul Ulum?
At the Darul Ulum, yes. And at that point, we had approximately 120, 130 students at that when we had left. You know, but now in Atlanta, I still do my Islamic work. I do the Islamic lectures, you know, in different communities in Atlanta. I get invited a lot to speak to congregations. I still do Jummah khutbahs in a few different masajids in Atlanta. I rotate. You know, I'm not affiliated with any particular organization, you know, but you know, my lineage come from Darul Ulum, you know, that's the only thing I could say I'm attached to. But beside that, I'm not affiliated with anything. So I'm very open-minded. I'm very broad-minded when it comes to talking to different areas and different people. You know, I've been into the Nigerian community, I've been into the Pakistani community, into the Indian community. I've done lectures for them, mixed society. You know, now I travel. Wherever I travel to, I normally do khutbahs in those areas, California, Jamaica, you know. So in a few different international countries now I start.
So you're really interested in doing the work, not being associated with a particular organization. And that's really, you know, important for our viewers to understand. You do not have to be affiliated to a particular group or an organization to get the work done. If there's work to do, you just go out and do it. And I mean, you're proving that, you know, by exactly what you're doing in Atlanta.
Yes, you see, one thing I always understand is getting yourself involved with organizations and stuff. It has its benefits and yet it has its downfall. I'd rather stay with it without it and don't say, well, I'm affiliated with this organization or that organization and start labeling it. Islam is not a labeling organization. You see, Islam and Muslims is all one. You see, it's only we are the one who separates it.
We make it difficult.
We make it difficult. Yes. But one thing I understand from Mohamed and from studying this Islam, you know, through him, it has opened my mind up to a lot of things. And that is why I'm very independent in what I do. You know, I do my, and that is why nobody could have said, well, I'm paying you a salary or I'm giving you this money, why you have to go talk to these type of people.
So they've got that hold over you because if you make that commitment
exactly.
to them.
And these organizations, they do get hold over you and stuff like that. Which
it's important that you're pointing out that if there's work to do, just go out and get it done.
Exactly.
Do the work. And there is so much work to get done.
Yes.
You know, even if all these organizations can come together, you know, and not vie for position and vie for leadership and vie for power, there is so much that we can do as individuals, whether it's here in South Florida, in Atlanta, I mean at a national, international level, there's a lot of work to get done. How has your experience here in South Florida enabled you to grow and develop even further in Atlanta?
Well, South Florida was my basis for everything. This is where I learned, this is where I grew up, this is where I grew with my Islam. So this served the biggest foundation for me because when I moved to Atlanta, I was already seasoned in doing lectures, in doing khutbahs, in talking to youths, in running programs, running madrasas, dealing with different situations. So this South Florida it was the base. It was the base for my foundation.
So this was like your learning ground.
This was my learning. But when I moved there, you were
prepared.
I was prepared. So that's why when I go and I do a lecture or I do something, I am not, I do it, and I do it with my whole heart, not to be scared that, who's watching me or this and that and the other. But South Florida, like I said, my heart is always here because of all of these and the things that I've learned here. In fact, I actually met my wife in Darul Ulum Institute as well.
Oh, what a love story.
So I even met my wife in the Islamic Institute that I studied it. And alhamdulillah, you see, that is why everything that I do in my life, it was, involved with Islam. And involved with Darul Ulum, Al-Hikmat, the work that I did and stuff like that.
So your nucleus seems to be Darul Ulum here.
Yeah.
That's why when you can't stay away in Atlanta.
Anytime.
You come and visit us here all the time.
Exactly. At any time I come to South Florida, my mother, my father, my wife, anybody could ask you. When they see me disappear, know that I'm either in Darul Ulum or I'm at the Al-Hikmat office.
Your original homes.
My original homes.
That's great. It's been wonderful you sharing this experience with us. At this point, we're going to be taking a short break. We'll be right back.
Are you a student seeking scholarship or financial aid to study Islam? Contact Al-Hikmat Services at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158. That's 954-986-0158. We also have locations in Jamaica and Trinidad, West Indies.
If you would like to advertise your business on Al-Hikmat TV online 24/7, Al-Hikmat website, and Al-Hikmat Monthly Muslim Magazine, please contact the Al-Hikmat office at 954-986-0158. That's 954-986-0158.
Tune in for Friday Khutbah at 1:30 p.m., broadcasting live from Darul Ulum Institute, Pembroke Pines, Florida, on Al-Hikmat TV online.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. If you're now joining us, my guest today in the studio is Qari Shamikh Sahadat, who is visiting us from Georgia. We left off in the program where Qari Shamikh was telling us about his past involvement in the community and some of the activities he was involved in. Qari Shamikh, what are your future plans? What vision do you have for yourself and for the community?
Great. Very good question. In fact, they said very successful people and great people are the one who plans. And both me and my wife, actually, we sit and we plan out what we want to accomplish. A few years. Well, first we plan what we want in a year time, in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and some of the things which we plan. Actually, both of us plan is, we want to see and help communities around. Atlanta, South Florida, to come together, because one thing I've noticed in the communities is that there's a lot of hatred going on in organizations and in communities. Especially in Georgia, there are communities that splits and stuff like that. And we want to see community get together. We want to establish a school, an Islamic school.
Is this in Georgia?
Whether in Georgia or here, we want to do it on both places.
Full-time Islamic
school. Full-time Islamic school. We have Darul Ulum. Our goal is to expand that place, and my goal and vision for Darul Ulum is to see it expanded more. And I'm very happy every time I come here and I see these students studying to become Hufaz and studying the Quran and stuff like that. And so we have a very big goal in what we want to accomplish as far as community work goes. We want to establish something where we want to see that communities don't even have to struggle to collect money to pay light bills, and all of these things are part of our goals, part of our future plan that both me and my wife we work towards in developing now, so that later on when we want to open an Islamic school, it could be free education. People don't have to pay that monthly fees, and because
it is expensive.
It is
I must tell
expensive.
you, going to an Islamic school is expensive.
I know, and I've known, parents who had to let go, stop their students from going to Islamic school because the cost is so much. But Islam, I always believe that education in Islam, you don't pay for that education. Okay, that's Allah's knowledge, and you don't pay for these things. But of course there is overhead costs that people has to cover and stuff. But we want to see all these things, where organizations don't have to worry about these type of little things, because these are little things which they hurt their head over without getting the big things done, and we don't want to see that. Future plans for us as well, is to work together with a lot of youth organizations, helping youths who are going through all these situations and problems in society today and stuff like that. Already I'm involved with a few youths in Atlanta that I'm working together with, in developing different programs. These guys, they throw out ideas to me and stuff like that, and we plan on seeing how we can implement. Like, for example, there's one program we are working on right now is a imam's training program, basically for youngsters to start giving khutbahs and Islamic talks and and these little things. So I work with a few people and working with the youth, working with young people and stuff to study the Quran, study Islam, and learn about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
You mentioned a really good point of setting goals, and I think that is something we can elaborate a little bit upon for our youth, not even for our youth, only our youth, but I think anyone, any individual, setting personal goals, if it's on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and as you mentioned, a yearly basis. Setting goals, I think, really seems to be important, and it seems to have helped you in growing and developing and becoming who you are today.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, I totally agree with it. And I'll tell you something, goal settings, I learned this from Maulana Shafa'at, actually. I did learn it from Maulana Shafa'at. He's a person of paper and pen, okay? And one thing with him is he writes down every single thing. I mean, the guy keeps track, and he has taught me that whatever you want, you write down. You write down your things that you have to accomplish. And I remember we used to do these things to do sheets.
To-do list, yes.
The to-do list. And he taught me. I used to keep a small little book in my pocket that has a things to do. In fact, I remember one of my first projects in printing was a things to do list. So I kind of picked that up from him. But we plan, and Islam is all about planning, growing, changing. Not to be stagnant. Anything that is stagnant waters stinks. Mm-hmm. We always have to be on a growing and changing mode. We have to learn to get new ideas and learn to do new things and implement new things, But definitely goal settings, I've learned it from ever since I started studying Islam, and it helped us a lot of things in life. Even, like you're saying, there's monthly goals, there is yearly goals, and you learn to plan yourself. When you plan, you could see yourself focusing a lot. Now you might not hit everything, but you have it down. People might not hit the goal, but yet you have it on a piece of paper. That's something you could be accountable for.
Right. I think, to add a little bit to that, goal setting actually helps you to manage your time effectively, and it helps to keep you organized and on track. And I think that's some real good advice for our young people and our individuals out there. If they want to stay on track, they need to start planning. If they want to be organized, they need to start, using their time and setting goals and prioritizing the things that are important. Because too often I notice that young people seem to think that Islam comes second, And Islam is a dynamic way of life. You just mentioned things shouldn't be stagnant. Muslims are dynamic individuals, and we need to live up to that quality that we have. So I'm really glad that you sort of brought that up for our youth to realize that they should be setting goals, they should be trying to organize their time and plan effectively, because that will help them to become more successful in this world, with this dunya, and plan for the akhirah, for the hereafter.
Everything that I've done, I've actually learned it from Islam and implemented it in my life. That's why
that's the key, implementing it in your life. Because a lot of us are learning, but we're not implementing, and that's where the problem sometimes lies for a lot of individuals. The implementation part is the key. Okay, so tell me, as we come to the end of our program, what advice do you have do you have for our youth and then for the community at large?
For our youths, stick with your Islam a lot, as much as you can. I know it is a very difficult society. I know it is a society where it promotes a lot of other things beside Islam. But stick with it as much as you can. Stick with the masjids as much as you can, with the Islamic youths. Stick with your type of people, with your own type of people, Muslim people.
You don't mean ethnic groups now. When you say own kind of people.
No, not ethnicity.
Okay,
what
I just want to clarify that that's not what you're talking about.
Islam is more than ethnicity.
Right.
A lot of times, unfortunately, people segregate it. well, we are Pakistani Muslim, or we are Indian Muslim, or we Guyanese Muslim, or Trinidadian Muslim. Why is there a country before the Muslim? We are all Muslims. But so stick, and they said, you stick with your own people, stick with good people. Keep yourself keep your company with good people. One thing I always remember growing up as a child, when our parents always said, don't go hang around with this group of people, because this is what you're going to become in life. You want to stick with good set of people. People who smokes, who drinks, who get on crazy. Those are the type of things you will attract in your life.
Right, because that reminds me of the saying, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Because my friends,
right.
They always say that. You've been hearing that since we're little kids.
Since we're little kids.
Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are.
So for the youths, stick with good people. It will help you a lot to change a lot of things. If you're looking for change, that's one of the change you want to make. Get yourself involved into a community. I know it's difficult because one thing is that when you get yourself involved in communities, friends might laugh at you. People might say, well, look at this guy. They know you, who you were before, but they don't see where you were trying to head. So yes, you might have people who's going to laugh at you, but let that don't deter you. Because shaitan loves to distract people like that.
Yeah, that's his goal.
That's his goal.
To keep us back from moving forward.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
If you have to fall, like they said, if you have to fall, you fall forward. For the communities and for the people, what should I say? I mean, we have grown up learning about our Islam. We have grown up. Don't make Islam a part-time thing. Make it full-time in your life. Implement everything that you have. Implement Islam into it. Whether you're at work, whether you around people, anything that goes around you, basically implement Islam into it. Then you will see the fruit of everything. And that's why alhamdulillah, I've excelled a lot in my Islamic studies, because I've implemented everything I've learned from my Islam. I implement my deen in my life, and I stick towards it.
On a personal note, have you ever thought about going abroad to study? To further your education in Islamic
I have had
studies?
many opportunities. I tell you the honest truth, I have had many opportunities. But I think if I would have gone abroad to study, I would not have the common sense to do a lot more things that I'm doing today. I'm not saying going abroad is a wrong thing, but what I'm saying is the practicality that I had growing up in the environment here, I would have come back condemning everything.
Because you would have missed out on that experience.
Exactly, with the experience.
Right.
And I've seen the experience out there. That is why I could talk about it.
And again, I just wanted to make sure viewers know that is your personal opinion. This is not a law. This is just how Qari Shamikh feels about, studying. Not that he was not given the opportunity, but it's a decision that he made in his life to use the experience here to better himself.
Yes.
And, we don't have to go abroad to study. We don't have to have a degree under our belt. But, that does not prevent us and should not prevent us from learning more about Islam and learning more about our deen.
I told people, I said the most amongst the things I learned in Islam was in the US. This is where, and that is why, most of the times when I go to lecture and stuff, people ask me, said, what university did you study in overseas? I said, I never did. I tell them, I said...
And then they're amazed, I'm sure.
And then they ask me, where did you study? I said, I studied in South Florida. Florida! Then you have this puzzled look on the face as if Islam cannot be taught in America.
Yeah, there's a university in Florida that teaches Islamic
exactly.
studies.
So you see this puzzled look on people's face, but, I want to tell people out there that, if your kids learn Islam in this environment, they'll be strong practicing Muslims.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out as well that you don't have to go abroad, but there's so many opportunities here online. We have so many technology that is available for us. You don't have to even leave your home to be able to get a degree and to follow through with that. And I'm sure you're taking advantage of all of that.
Oh, of course, trust me.
Right.
I'm a very high-tech person.
Beautiful, and that's something our youth, today, that's something that they have a plus under them as well. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Shamikh. You gave us a lot of good advice for our young people as well as the community at large, and it's been a pleasure having you on the program today. Thank you so much for being my guest.
You're welcome, Jazakallah, and I thank you guys very much for giving me the opportunity to be here today.
You're more than welcome. And this brings us to the end of our program. Please join me again next week for another edition of Who's Who in the Community and in America. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah, hamdan lillah, wa la ولا إله إلا الله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر والله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله حمدا لله حمدا لله ولا إله إلا الله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر والله